Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera, and for this week's episode, we are recapping my half marathon.
Woohoo! Ciera finished her half marathon yesterday, Sunday. So this episode's going to be a little recap of that, as well as Ciera posted asking questions regarding probably training and or just the half marathon in general. So I will be taking on the host of the episode and going through and asking Ciera the questions you guys wanted to know and all the inside stuff.
And then you can also kind of talk about like your experience. Megan came to spectate with all of the family and my boyfriend, and so you can give like the little behind the scenes of watching the race as a whole. So I was just in it, doing my stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it was kind of fun having the other perspective. So before we get into the recap, we always like to start with our spotlight. That is my spotlight, obviously.
I feel like for the most part, I'm going to use that as my spotlight as well, just because it was the time of my weekend where I hung out with like a bunch of family and saw them. And it was, fun to cheer you on.
Oh, thank you.
So I think that mine will also just kind of be off of that as well.
Well, we can talk about a little bit and like recap since our last time talking to you guys. We had a little YouTube creator collective event that we went to.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like a fun thing. We vlogged that actually on our YouTube channel. Only briefly. It was just like a day in the life vlog. And that was the day we did that.
But if anyone happens to be curious, we kind of mentioned this in that vlog. It's not a super like, what's the word I'm looking for? Exclusive invite. Like you do need to have an invite, but there's no like, you need this many subscribers. Like, to be honest, if you have a YouTube account and maybe you've posted here and there on it, whether it's shorts or full form content, then if you sign up to get notified when these YouTube creator collectives are happening, like you'll get an email and you'll most likely get approved to go. So I had seen just like other people doing them in different cities. So then Maggie and I like signed up for one to be notified when it was going to be in Des Moines. And then lo and behold, down the line, we got an email saying they were going to do it in Des Moines. So then we went. And it was just like a nice get together because we had no idea like who all was in Iowa or Des Moines specifically posting stuff and trying to do content creation. And it's just interesting because like you really see, and we didn't even talk to like everyone there. We kind of like, there were two main tables and we kind of like mostly we're talking with people at our one table, but it's like everyone kind of finds their niche, and like it's just interesting to see like what all people
It's
do
also
with their
interesting
niche.
because I was always under the impression, I was like, surely if they're like our other Iowa people, like I would know about them or like I would hear about them in some capacity. And I was like, I haven't heard, no offense, you guys haven't heard of me. Like I don't know who any of these people are. So it's just cool because like some people had like a lot of followers and some people didn't have that many, but like I was like, I don't know who any of you are, like with love, you know what I mean? I was just like, surely I would know if there were people out there, and I didn't, but it was nice to meet people.
We got to do it just like talking about like content creation and strategy and using different platforms and stuff, and like ourselves and then Maggie, like we can all bounce those ideas off of each other pretty easily, and we do that quite often because we've all been in that space and we're familiar with it. But it was nice to have just like other people.
It's also,
a lot of people were sharing just like more stuff that we had no idea of like was even a thing.
It's refreshing to see a lot. I would say, granted I don't know all the creators there, but like I would say 90% of them were like short form content first, or TikTok more specifically first, but no one like was really uttering TikTok since it was a YouTube event. And like we were the only ones that were like YouTube specific, at least like that's where we got our start. And we were kind of like, we would love to venture more into like doing short form content. We're just not very good at it right now.
Speaking of though, I've been posting.
Yeah,
okay.
If you guys want some TikTok content,
Me and Maggie have been posting, and Ciera is slowly but surely trying to get her foothold going.
I posted speaking of the content today, Megan posted a half marathon spectator vlog, and I posted a half marathon vlog. So you can watch those on our TikTok. Yeah, we're trying to delve more into short form content. You're doing a really good job. Like I feel like you're really like you're pushing it, and I'm like I'm trying to figure out what I'm posting next, and I don't even know yet.
I'm trying to do a mix of like thought out content as well as kind of like just off the cuff. Like I've done a couple unboxing stuff because I'm like whatever. I've gotten this.
Weirdly enough,
they're doing
getting
decent.
Like, kind of well. Yeah. You need to figure out how to link those things.
Yeah, it's hard because with short form, if you link something, it doesn't go to the creator fund. because of commission. So it's like a back and forth thing.
Yeah.
There's just different things. It's not like I'm making bank off of TikTok right now. I did well when I did my dating series. The month that I
How much
had those videos popping off, there was, I think it was November was my best month for that. I made $400 from the Creator Fund.
Dang, that's crazy. I haven't made a single cent off of TikTok.
I'm in the dollars right now. So I need to.
You can start your dating series back up.
Okay. What else? So I'm like, we kind of went on this side tangent of TikTok stuff. Book updates.
I finished. What did I finish since I last spoke to you guys? I'm currently reading Crown of Midnight, and I'm probably like 40% of the way through that book. Let me look. Oh wait, no, not quite. Oh, actually, yeah, I'm 40% of the way through Crown of Midnight. And I finished. Hold on, my Goodreads is freaking out. So you remember me, so I don't think I've read another book since I last spoke to you guys.
Our virtual book club pick of the month. If this intrigues you and you'd like to join, our links are down below. You can either become a Spotify premium subscriber or you can join our Patreon. It's going to be Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. My first ever Kristen Hanna book, finally. I'm excited because I've been waiting.
This one to be my first one.
Same. Like, this was probably like last on my radar. However, I'm glad to finally be delving into her books because I hear nothing but good things. It just hasn't. I've never had like the kick in the butt to actually pick up one of her books. I need someone to just kick
me in the butt in general to continue reading because I feel like I've just been going so slow, and like I know there's so many books that I want to read. Like I want to read, both of our book club books. That's like at least
on the docket.
Month I have to do those. But like Wild Dark Shore is kind of on my TBR now, and all those new releases coming up. Thank God, Great Big Beautiful Life is one of our book club picks. So that's good. But like there's still like the whole Rebel Witch that I want to read, Fearless that we just picked up that I want to read. Speaking of book stuff, we're doing a book vlog on our YouTube channel this weekend after this episode goes up. So if you guys are some of our book people, keep an eye out for our Do Book Stuff With Us vlog.
I pretty sure I already updated on Wild and Wrangled because I feel like I finished that a while ago. If not, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And I'm currently in the middle of reading Nocticadia. That's how I've been pronouncing it. It's a long book. It's like 600, almost 700 pages. I'm enjoying it so far. I was initially like within the first 40 pages, I was kind of debating. I was like, do I want to DNF this? Because I picked this after it was suggested from like my Phantasma books. Like if you scroll down on Goodreads, it has like other readers also read this book. And it's like a dark romance, kind of dark academia vibe. So I was like, okay, let me try this out and see what I think of it. And I was just like turned off initially a little bit because
about dark romance.
I wouldn't say this one is like super dark romance. There is kind of like a professor student thing going on, but here's the thing, from what I can gather, like I don't know if they ever actually like break any rules. I feel like the whole time it's just tension and then like nothing's actually happening.
Okay,
so that's where we're at right now. It's not fantasy, but there's like it's this fake disease like that is a parasite, and it's like a gruesome, like gross parasite, like when it infects the host. Like the beginning is describing the mom, like the mom's death basically, and it's talking about like these, after she dies, she's like in like the bathtub, and like the main character witnesses these worms like coming out of her mom's body. So I was quite grossed out by this description.
Like, I don't know if I need
and
to read this.
Was like, I don't know if all of this is like what I'm wanting. It's not really gross now. Like she's at like this school now that's studying this specific parasite, trying to like get answers, and her professor is studying this parasite as well. So it's fine plot-wise now. And I do think like I will finish the book, but
is it a series?
No, I don't think so. Okay. So, but it's like, it's kind of I feel like it's a long book for what it is. So that's kind of where I'm like, it doesn't probably need to be 700 pages long. It's a little much. Nonetheless, I'm getting through it a little bit quicker now that I'm past that first part. So that's what I'm currently reading. So
okay, should we like just do like a little race day recap and then do questions?
Sure.
Okay, so I signed up for the Des Moines Women's Half Marathon at the end of March. with the intention of like the start of this year, if you guys have been listening and listened to our New Year's goals and resolutions, one of my goals was to run a half marathon. And Megan doubted me. I actually went back to listen to like your commentary on just like your reaction to hearing that I wanted to do a half marathon, because I never talked to you guys, or I never talked to you about wanting to do a half marathon. And it's just your reaction was funny, because I would have had like probably the same reaction if you would have told me that. You were like, oh, because you were like, oh, can I guess? Like, or I don't think you said, can I guess? You're like maybe like run 5 miles or something was like your thought of like what my running goal would be. And I was like, no, I'm going to do a half marathon. And you're like, oh, that surprises me, or whatever your response was.
It did surprise me.
So that was when I revealed my plan to do a half marathon. And then I pretty shortly was like, okay, I need to like start running in some way, shape, or form. And I started my actual 12-week training plan, I think at the end of January, and that happened to line up perfectly with our 1 week vacation that like made it 13 weeks probably total from start to end. It aligned with the Des Moines Women's Half, which is why I opted to do that one. Initially, I wanted to do the Dam to DSM, which starts at Saylorville, and then you run to downtown Des Moines. So I was like, that's such an iconic race. But I'm happy with my race that I did. It means that I get to rest a little bit sooner, since now I'm not training for anything. And I also like had been running like a lot of the course for the actual race during my training. So I think it was a nice one. It's also like the women's half marathon, so lots of female empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so start of race day, I got up at 6 a.m. Actually, I technically got up at 5 a.m. because Vegas was dry heaving on my bed. So I was like, I need to get up and get him outside so he doesn't throw up on my carpet, or like at the very least I can get him downstairs so he's on like the wood floor. And then I get him all the way outside. Didn't hook him up to his leash or anything, so I was just trying to get him outside. He stops dry heaving. He's fine.
He's like, this was my plan.
So then I'm like, okay. I mean, I was like, you can try to go to the bathroom, I guess. I think he peed, and then I was like, okay, it's time to go inside. I have to get up in less than an hour. It took me 15 minutes to get him inside because he's a little stinker. And I was like, he like would come by the sliding glass door, and then I'd like be coaxing him any way that I can. I'm like, I'm opening the dishwasher. I'm opening the front door. I'm like getting an ice cube. I got a potato out, and weirdly enough, got him inside. We have like a bag of like little potatoes. I put one in his food dish, and then I like walked away, and he like snakes inside toward like to the right to his food bowl, and so then I can close the door, and then I'm like, you do whatever. I'm going upstairs. I come back downstairs at 6. He didn't eat the potato.
He's probably like, this isn't food.
So he came inside because he was curious, I guess, but he never actually ate it, and I just threw it away because I was like, well, I guess he's not eating it. So I picked up my race day outfit kind of like the day before. I kind of envisioned like I was going to wear shorts, and I wanted to wear a tank top, honestly, but then I was like, I don't know, it feels like it's going to be kind of cold. And then when I got up and like went outside, I was like, it is probably like a little bit chilly. I'll probably wear a long sleeve. And I do think I could have gotten away with a t-shirt or tank top. Like, it was chilly when I started, so I feel like I would have been like nervous, like starting off being like, oh, what if I need something warmer?
I mean, some people also just like took off their outer layer and like
actually
wore it.
That like, what'd you say?
They wore it is what I said.
Oh,
like they just tied it around themselves or whatever.
I would hate to do that though. I saw someone who like had like a fleece, I think they must have started out wearing, that was tied around them initially, and they took off like their other like long sleeve or something and tied that around them, and I was like, that's a lot of layers to tie around yourself. I just didn't want to like worry about having to like take something off and attach it to me some other way. So I am happy that I wore shorts though, because like at first, and I wasn't surprised that like initially Maggie was like in the car with us and she was like, you're wearing shorts, and I was like, oh, trust me, like I've done enough running outside in this temperature that like shorts I know is the move. Actually my boyfriend though was like, oh, you're wearing like leggings, and I was like, no. And I was kind of like, should I be? Because he like runs sometimes, and so I was like, he kind of like, I would think knows how like the temperature like
fluctuates,
you know. But then afterwards he's like, good call on the shorts, probably, because I think everyone that was watching was starting to get hot by the end of the race, because it did warm up quite a bit. Okay, so race started at 8. Megan drove me, and then she picked Maggie up, and we went to her grandma's house, and then we all carpooled from my mom. Like my mom drove to my grandma's house, and then we all carpooled downtown. And it was fun seeing everyone off. The porta potty lines at the start of the race were ridiculously long. Like, I was like, I have to go to the bathroom before, like, I start the race because I'm going to get nervous if I don't, like, go to the bathroom beforehand. And probably took me, like, 15 minutes just to wait in line. And I was, like, looking at my watch.
There was a delay, too. They delayed the race, I think.
They're like, oh, everyone's at the porta potty right now. So they did delay a little bit. But I was like, am I going to... It doesn't matter if you start late because, like, I'm pretty sure it's just when your chip time goes through is when you start. But I was like, I'm going to be late starting this race. It's all good, though. I met a viewer. I don't know if she's also a podcast listener.
This is funny.
But she came up to me and she was like, hey, like, I watch your YouTube channel. And so I was like, oh, nice to meet you. Like, good luck with your race. And she's like, yeah, good luck to you, too. And she's like, I saw your dad. And so, like, that's how I knew to, like, look for you.
Which is so funny because, like, I had to tell my dad this, too, because Ciera texted me then, like, saying I just got recognized. And they said, like, they recognized me because they saw Dad was here. So then I had to tell my dad that. And he was just like, well, that's a first. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. So that's funny.
He's been in the vlogs, though.
And then she must have seen my TikTok.
You guys know him.
So she could be listening to this right now if she's across platforms.
Yeah.
But she congratulated me again on the TikTok. And so then I said, congrats to you, too. But that was, like, good vibes to start the race. What was hard was trying to figure out, like... We went off in 3 different waves. I was in the last wave unintentionally. Like, I was just kind of in the back of the line. But, like, probably rightfully so because I'm sure I was, you know, slower half. So, like, I'm trying to do my watch and then I'm trying to, like, do my Nike Run Club app because I'm like, well, I'm getting credit for, like, this last run, you know, on everything. It's like, if I'm doing a half marathon, potentially my only half marathon, I need you to know it. I need you to know it. I need everyone to know it. So, I'm like, you know, they're starting us and I'm like... Because it also does a countdown from, like, when you press start on your phone and then start on your watch. So I'm, like, trying to, like, start it, like, 3 seconds before I cross the starting line. Anyway, timing-wise, it worked out fine. Got everything started. Got my music playing. That was the other thing. I was like, I gotta get my music going for, like, the Tortured Poets department to, like, time everything out. Everything went fine. I did it all. And then I was running. And then I was also had my phone out and I was vlogging at least a little bit to get some stuff for my TikTok. And then the hardest part is trying to pace yourself. I think initially, like, I was aiming for sub 2:30 was what I was telling everyone. But, like, mentally in my head, I was, like, aiming for an 11-minute-ish pace, which I think is, like, 2:24. It's what I actually did for my marathon, or my half marathon. So that's good. But I was like, I wanted some room for error. I was like, I don't know if I have, like, a bathroom break that takes forever. Mm-hmm. Like, what if I... don't feel good? I don't know. But, like, knowing that you have a pace that you want to maintain, I was, like, trying to make sure I started off at that pace or, like, slower than that pace, ideally, is what you want to do. And I was not. My first mile, I think I actually could show you. Looking at my Nike Run Club app, like, my fastest mile was my first mile. It was a 10:05 first mile. Which, like, hearing that, I was kind of like, oh, slay. Like, you know.
But you're like, no, I'm not supposed to do that.
I'm like, I'm probably, you know, going too fast right off the gate. And it's hard because, like, you're surrounded by so many other people. And, like, you don't know what everyone else's paces are. I also didn't see a single pacer anywhere on the course, even though I saw pacing signs. So I'm not sure what that was about. But I was just, like, trying to coordinate. Okay, that means I can slow down a little bit, I guess. But I also didn't have, like, any specific fancy pacing on my watch. Like, my boyfriend said he had, I think it was his watch that would, like, tell him, like, he set, like, a minimum and a max pace that he wanted to do during the half marathon. And it would, like, tell him to, like, speed up or slow down based off of how he was running. Mm-hmm. And my Nike Run Club app was just, like, every mile it would say, like, oh, 1 mile done. You're at, like, this time is done. You're at this average pace. And, like, mile 2 done. It's this long in. Here's your average pace. Like, that was just getting updates every mile, which has worked fine enough for my training. And, like, it worked fine enough for the half marathon. But the other issue was when I passed for the half marathon, they have, you know, mile markers every mile. And I'm like, I see the mile marker coming up and I pass it. And, like, my watch hasn't, you know, buzzed or whatever. And my AirPods haven't said, like, 1 mile done, whatever. So I'm like, oh God, I've heard of, like, race courses being off before. I've seen TikToks of, like, a girl, like, finishing some race, but, like, she keeps running past the finish line. She's, like, yelling at her family, like, the course is too short, and she, like, wants to get, you know, her full distance in for the race. And so I'm like, I don't want to have that be an issue. Like, I want to get full credit for my half marathon, but I also like don't want to keep running past the finish line, mostly because I don't know if I can keep running past the finish line. Like, it kind of just ends with how the race was set up. And so when I looked at my watch, it said like I was at 0.85 miles or something. And so I was like, that's like 0.15 miles is like not nothing, you know? Yeah. Like, it's not like I'm off by like 10 feet or something. So I'm like keeping that in the back of my mind of like, do I need to like remedy this at some point during the race? And I was like, maybe after like 5 miles, like it will have evened out at some point. So anyway, we're continuing on how the race was set up. If you're familiar with Des Moines or not, I'm still going to relay this to you. I essentially like considered it in like 3 different sections. So there was like an out and back, basically where you run from the starting line out towards Principal Park, which is our minor league baseball stadium. And then you run back towards Grays Lake. And then you run an out and back kind of by like a neighborhood apartment area past Grays Lake, come back to Grays Lake. That's the second area of the race that I was considering. And then there's like an area called Waterworks Park that's across the street. You run an out and back to end up at the winery. So that's how I was like breaking this race down mentally in my head of like, you know, there's 3 parts. And I was nervous for the first out and back, which like was fine because I had porta potties and stuff. But I had done a training race where I was doing like basically, since I knew that was part of the race, I was like, oh, I'll do that as like an out and back for like a 6-mile portion of one of my long runs. And when there's no racing going on, there's no porta potties anywhere. And so like 3 miles out, I was kind of like, I kind of have to go to the bathroom. And then I was like, I've got to run 3 miles back to the closest bathroom. And when I tell you I was getting nervous, I was getting nervous. And so then like going into this race, they had porta potties, so it was fine. But I was kind of like, I'm kind of nervous. Because like I knew every other part like by the race. I was like, there's bathrooms at Grays Lake that I could use if I need to. And then I knew like even on non-race days in Waterworks Park, there's like porta potties down the road. So like, and I checked the course map, and even this website that I looked at it's like Route My Run or something. Like you can plug in a route and it'll show you how long it is. It also shows bathrooms. So I was like, that's the only section that has no like bathrooms around permanently. Mm-hmm. So I was like, hopefully like they should have porta potties. They're like, you know, an official race, and they did. And I didn't have to use the bathroom at all, which was honestly amazing. But I was nervous. So when I started running back and I was feeling fine, I was like, okay, I think we're good. Like, I don't think I have to worry about having to use the bathroom. So if I'm breaking this race up into like how I'm feeling, first like 5 miles was pretty chill. I felt pretty good with my pace. I was averaging at this point, I think like a 10:30. And I was like, I don't think I can maintain this 10:30 pace the whole time. Like 11 minutes had kind of been like my sweet spot for like my long distances, like the 10 plus miles. And so I was like, this is good and all, but like this is not going to be sustainable, I don't think. And we'll get to when it was not. So I'm circling back, and then I'm getting motivated because I'm coming across the bridge, and I'm like, okay, I'm coming up on my first like cheering party because I know where you guys were set up. And so that was motivating for me. And then I was kind of like coming past like the Rouen connector, like the area's like, I don't really know where they're at. I just know they're kind of over here somewhere. So I'm running. You guys are like in the last possible section to be in before I am off on my second loop. And so then I see your signs, try to read them as best as I can. And then I was like, okay. And I think I like sped up by you guys, because then after I crossed the street again and like it goes uphill a little bit, I was like, oh, I'm getting tired. And then I like had to like slow down a little bit. So I do think though, I ran at least the first full half without like walking or stopping. And then I think around like the 8-mile marker or something, I was like, I need to walk a little bit. I'm getting tired. I was going to text Abby because I ended up running right in front of her apartment. And I was like, I don't know if she's home or not, but I was like, Abby, I wasn't going to text her in the middle of the half marathon. I was like, I've got other things to worry about. But I was like, I should have told her that I was going to be running by her apartment. So if she was here, then she could have looked outside. But I didn't. They had some DJs and stuff at like different points throughout the race as well. So not that really mattered because I was listening to my own music, but that was kind of nice. And they had, of course, different stands with like water. They had like a Powerade station at one point that I like grabbed unintentionally, but like it was like I grabbed it obviously, but like I thought it was water, and then it was just like a blue liquid, and I was like, oh, This must be Powerade or Gatorade. Whatever. Trying to think. Then I looped back around, saw you guys like a little after mile 9 or 8 maybe, I think. And then I was like, okay, now we're into my last loop. And I was, I think, still feeling pretty good at this point. Like, I had taken a walking break, but then I was good. And then I was trying to figure out, at this point I'm still behind in my miles compared to, like, what the course is saying. Like, I was like, I need to make up, I think, for some miles before I get to the end. So I pass you guys. I'm running, jogging, whatever you want to call it, to the Rouen connector goes under the street to take me to the outside towards Waterworks Park. And then I am doing like this long loop, and this is where I decided that I'm going to do like my makeup miles. So I waited for the next mile marker to see, like, I think it was mile marker 9. And then I went there and I looked at my watch, and it was saying that I was still like I think this was like saying I was at point like 8.8 or something. So I was like, okay. I turn around. I'm like kind of on the grass because I don't want to get in anyone else's way. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure people are like, what is this girl doing turning around in the middle of the race? And then I'm like, I'm going to go out, like back for point 1 and then back for point 1. So that's what I ended up doing to then be like on par with what I thought would be like the course. So then I could go and do the rest of the course and not have to worry about making up any extra miles. So I do that. And this is where I start to feel, I wasn't getting excited at this point, but I was like starting to just get tired. And I was like, I think I'm going to take a walking break for a little bit. So I took a walking break, and then I start running probably like around like the 9.5 mile mark, like right before I get to you guys for the third time, which was unintentional. I didn't know I was going to see them for a third time. And like I start to get the worst side ache ever. So throughout my whole training, I've been getting side aches kind of on and off. I don't know if it depends on how much water I've had or like what I've eaten. It's hard for me to like figure out what exactly it is that brings them on. But like I was just getting an awful side ache. And like the worst part for me, I think, that I've found when I am running with a side ache is that like walking doesn't necessarily help it go away. Like it'll go away when I'm walking, but then if I start running again, it like just gets bad again. And the only way that I found to like make it go away is to like keep kind of running, jogging through it until it just subsides. So I think that if I look at my Nike training club, I actually don't think I need to look at it. I think I just remember mile 11 or 12 specifically was like my worst mile. It was a 12:15 pace. And like it was quite literally like I was walking and then I was like hobbling and then I was walking. Like I was just trying to move in any sort of way that like had some level of speed, but like I could do. So I probably look ridiculous for a good 1 or 2 miles there, like trying to figure out a way to move. Anyway, luckily, as I was getting going, and I'm like also like, you know, getting towards the end here, like trying to keep up with my pace. And I'm like, I hear my like average time like creeping up, you know, I was at 10:30 and it's like, oh, you're at, you know, 10:40, 10:47. Like I'm like, I need to like get moving if I want to hit my goal. So I get to what I think is like just before like the 12 mile mark, I think, actually. And then I was like, okay, you can walk. And then like, I think if I like just run my regular like 11-minute pace for this last mile, like then I'll hit my goal. And at that point, my side was going away. So I was like, I just need to like do what I can do for this last mile. It's the last one, my regular pace. I'm not trying to push it and be like superwoman or anything. I just need to like not slow down and like do my normal slow pace. So that was like my mental thing. Like at this point, the Tortured Poets department has ended. It's playing random music that I don't know what it is. So I'm pulling my phone out and I'm switching it to my on repeat playlist. I did play the On and On song as like when I was like, we need something to get me going right now. And then I just played whatever for like the last 1 or 2 songs. And that last mile was like the hardest mentally. Like thank God the side ache went away. But it was like I only had a mile left. And I was like, where is this dang finish line? Like I'm rounding the corner. And like I feel like the winery is like way further down the street than a mile. So I'm confused how I'm supposed to be done in a mile. Come to find out, by the time I finished the race, I had ran 13.2 miles based off of like my phone and stuff. So it's entirely possible that the course evened itself out somewhere along the way, and I didn't have to backtrack, but I did. So my final time was 2:24:12, about right on track, I think, with my 11-minute pace or so. And yeah, that's my half marathon update. Megan actually was nice. I don't know how you saw this, but she sent voice memos like 2 times during the race, and as like a little like go, like she was cheering me on, and it played in my AirPods just like automatically because it does that when I get a message.
I had gotten the idea because someone made a TikTok. I honestly, I should show it to you because I sent it to Haley and Maggie being like, we should do this for Ciera's half marathon because it popped up a couple days before it. And like this girl could have made like, she had like a full marathon. It was like everyone and anyone like sent her these voice memos. So it was like, then it was like that audio was like her TikTok. It was like, it could have been a commercial. It was like that.
So cute.
It was like that many. And like she put like sentimental music with it. And it's just like everyone's like cheering her on. So I need to like send you that. But I didn't know for sure if it would play directly in your headphones or not. So that was good that it did that because I wasn't sure otherwise if you were going to listen to it.
Because it does like, it sends, I guess for audio messages, it just plays it. Otherwise for like text, you probably get that too, where it's like message from so-and-so that says whatever.
So I'll be a little bit shorter because there's not as much to say from the spectator side. But the race started at 8. Myself and my parents, our grandma, and then Maggie, and then Ciera's boyfriend were all at the starting line to like send her off when the race started. And then after that, I had a course map and I had Find My Friends. And that was what I was using in a dream. I know. I was like, that seems fitting, doesn't it? A course map, Find My Friends, and a dream. And that was what I was using to like obviously keep track of like where she was at in the race.
You said Find My Friends, and it reminded me when I was talking to my boyfriend, he said like around like when I was getting really slow, he was like, yeah, I can kind of tell I was like checking the Find My Friends, and I feel like you weren't moving as fast.
I was like, is this not loading? I was like, this isn't loading towards the very last part of the race.
Literally.
Yes. I also thought that.
He was like, I thought she'd be a little bit further now. No, I was just really slow.
Okay. So right after she left, I was like, we are going to get Starbucks. By we, I mean like all of us.
You're like, let's go, crew.
So we went and got Starbucks, did a little pit stop there because like Ciera had like that first out and back, and I was like, we have time, till she's gonna be. We have it like 45 minutes at least probably till she's gonna be
an hour.
till she's gonna be like ready to see us. So we went and did that, picked up our food. Haley and Ashton, they were a little bit late. They had a late night, and then they were trying to figure out where to meet us at. And so obviously like they went to the starting like parking lot, even though we were kind of like, well, you missed the start, so like we're not gonna be there. But that's where they went. And then we were trying to like give ideas for them to go park, but I wasn't even entirely sure like where we were gonna park. I was kind of like, we haven't gotten there yet, so like I don't know. My best guess was like Grays Lake parking, but they said they went there, and there's a couple different lots, and the first one was full, so then they were just like getting flustered. The second lot, like just down the road, was available, so we all ended up parking there after our Starbucks run. And then we had a bunch of signs that we had made previously. Ciera's favorite sign was my sign, I'm pretty sure. I had a couple actually. I had one that said, "Where's everyone going?" This is not like, I did not come up with this. We all looked up like signs that people do for half marathons. And my other one was, "Your dog is proud," or something like that. And I also taped Vegas's face to it. So
you need to say like your TikTok that you did with like your other sign, but then you deleted it.
Well, so I had a TikTok that I was holding up, and it was like, "Where's everyone going?" And then there's a couple different people that actually like said like "to the wine" or like "to the winery," but like Maggie happened to be recording.
That's because at the end of this race, it was hosted in part by Jasper Winery, and so like they had like a little like wine party afterwards.
Yeah. And so Maggie ended up getting a recording showing like some runners, and then like it happened to be like timed perfectly with one of them like answering my sign saying like "to the wine," and I posted that, and then I was like, this is doing like particularly bad in terms of like analytics. Deleted. So I deleted that one. Anyways, and so as we're like, I'm tracking Ciera like at Grays Lake to kind of, keep tabs on like where she's at, when can we see her, when do we need to be ready, and just like updating people because we're all just sitting there otherwise.
Were you like, oh, she's just over the corner? Or like when were you like keeping I was like up to date tabs?
I was like, she's at the bridge. That was kind of when I was like,
get ready, everyone.
She'll be here any moment.
Any moment.
Yeah,
10 minutes
quite
later.
a while, it's a long bridge.
I have
Not
to
really
go around
anything.
the corner too, because it's that road construction, or not road construction, but like I have to go around.
So, I mean, nothing really to report there. We saw her the first time, then she went and did like another loop around. We saw her again, and then you were off obviously to continue on to like the next section, and we were all like, well, now, like, what's our plan now? Because we weren't sure like if we should walk over towards the finish line or if there was anywhere to park. And after, the general consensus was there was not going to be any other places to park closer really, because they were already doing shuttles from like the starting parking lot, which we were no longer at, to the finish line, which we wanted to get to, but our car was not there and the shuttle wasn't an option. There was nowhere closer to park. So we were like, I think we just gotta walk ourselves. And so I kind of felt like cross country mom a little bit, where I was like, I set off the race until I literally couldn't and had to go through like the tunnel bridge because there was no other option. And I was just trying my best to like, I stayed like in the middle by the cones to like just stay out of anyone's way. But I was like, I'm so sorry I'm like going through the track, you guys, right now, but I can't see any other option. So we all went through. I will say everyone was making comments for the first like 2 times that we saw you. Like, you were looking good. Pace was looking good. You weren't looking phased. And I had really no thoughts. I was like, I don't know. She looks fine. And then when you mentioned, this was like, we didn't know this then, but like we could certainly tell. When we saw her the 3rd time, she was just looking like she was feeling it a little bit more. Granted, every time we saw you, like, you were running. So I didn't see you walk once. And so we cheer her off one more time. She's got to go finish the last however many miles. And then we're like, we'll see you at the finish line. And so we have a nice short walk to the finish line because it's like just
gotta go
up and over a hill.
That was insulting, honestly.
Yeah.
I have to admit. I was like, oh, okay, so you guys just be right over there, and I have 3 more miles to go.
Yeah.
So give me a second.
So that honestly felt like the longest wait.
It felt forever, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, probably like the longest
part.
like leg of my race, but like it felt so long. I'd never run that far down that road and then like to turn around and come back and do like the same distance back. I was like, dang, this seems like it came forever.
But yeah, I mean, it was fun to watch. I kind of felt like a cross country mom, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I want my kids to do cross country. This is a lot of like, I myself am having to figure out a lot of logistics and stuff to this. And then after that, I mean, obviously, like, I'm not going to complain too much, but like, we had to walk all the way back to the car from that finish line.
Yeah, it was fine, but I was like,
because you got to walk.
I just ran 13 miles. I don't really want to walk, another 2 back to the car.
And our grandma, she's a trooper. She
was.
did all the walking with us too. So, which like, she did it fine. Like, she's a pretty fit lady, but she just needs to go at a slower pace. But I was like, good job, grandma. Way to join us on this little endeavor. All right, we're moving into the question and answer section of the podcast. So someone, and there's a couple of shoe questions, but someone said, did you review any running shoes before the marathon, or like, how did you pick your shoes, blah, blah, blah.
So I quite literally just looked up like best running shoes or something, and a pair of Brooks popped up. You had also just got a pair of Brooks, and so you were like, oh, like, I like my Brooks, and so that's what I went with.
And you get a healthcare discount.
I will say, if I were to get like another pair of running shoes, should I continue to run and feel like I need another pair, I would probably go to like a shoe store that like fits you for a proper pair of running shoes. Because I feel like it's one thing to like get recommendations for like just a basic tennis shoe, but if you're going to be like using it for running, then like different shoes have different features and purposes, and so you need one that's going to support your foot shape. So, but I was pleased with my purchase. I didn't get any blisters or anything, and didn't notice any issues. Didn't have any foot, ankle pain or anything.
Good deal. What was the hardest and easiest part of the race?
I think hardest part I touched on kind of already, of like the side stitch between miles 10 through 12 basically, and then just like the mental aspect of that last mile. It's probably the hardest. Easiest part I felt like was I mean, like, the first half, honestly, like, I felt like I was smooth sailing. Didn't have any, like, shortness of breath. Didn't have any pain. No side stitches. My pace was consistent. Didn't have to take any walking breaks. So, and, like, it was, like, nice scenery. Like, I'd only run that part one time, so I feel like that also, like, made it more interesting. Because, like, I'd done, like, the Grays Lake part a million times and, like, that out and loop back for both, like, the second halves at some capacity before.
Would you ever do it again or try a full marathon?
I would never say no to a half marathon. I am very, very hesitant to say that I'd ever do a full marathon. I don't see that being the cards, but I also said, like, I never thought I would run a half marathon. So maybe, but, like, probably not. And definitely not for a while.
Someone said, did the training you used work well? So you mentioned you used the Nike app.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I did enjoy it. I used the Nike Run Club app. I know there's other apps like Run and stuff. I never actually tried that one because it costs money, I think. I liked the app. I do think, and you don't have to stick like verbatim to the plan they set for you, but like it was 5 runs a week for 12 weeks. So it's supposed to be like 60 runs for training. And like it was definitely something I had to make sure I scheduled out, or like if I missed a run, there were days where I like had to readjust stuff or like flip runs around. There was very likely at least like a couple days where I like did 2 runs in one day, like combined 2 of the shorter runs because of time issues. But I do think it did a good job of like progressing me from like being relatively a beginner to being able to do a half marathon. And I liked the different types of workouts. I felt like I knew what to expect every week. Like this is just based off of how I organized when I started each week. But like my Mondays were always a 15-minute recovery run. I had usually 2 speed runs a week and then 2 recovery runs, including that 15-minute one, and then a long run. So I liked to be able to like kind of plan my weeks around it. And I think that like they progressed the mileage well week to week. I never really got injured at any point during my running. So I credit it partly to the plan layout and then also to my warm-up that I did before basically every run.
How much prior running experience do you think is needed
to run a half marathon? I mean, I would say definitely like try to do some sort of training or prep beforehand. A lot of people like the max, I don't say a lot, but I know there are quite a few people who like the max run they do before like a half marathon is like, oh, I only did 8 miles before doing this. That to me is crazy. I'm like, I don't know how I could mentally like be like, oh, I've run 8 miles before, I have 5 more to go. So to each their own. I started like I think I had done a 10K on my own before I started like the official 12-week training program. And like based off of how I think the week started, I think it's like you run maybe max like 3 miles as your long run at the end of the first week or something like that. And so like if you feel like you could do that or like maybe build yourself up to like running 3 miles before you start a training plan, then like I think that's a good gauge.
Mm-hmm. How much did you end up fueling and drinking during the race?
Okay. I used my energy chews. I decided to do like every 3 to 4 miles. I had anywhere from like 3 to 6 of the chews. And then like the water stations, I had a water bottle in my vest. I really only used that to like help like down some of the chews when I was running if I wasn't by a water bottle station. But the water bottle I have, it kind of tastes gross and like latexy with the water. So I did most of my water drinking passing those water stations. I think I probably grabbed like 4 cups. One of those was probably the Gatorade or whatever. I really noticed throughout my entire training, I didn't drink a ton of water like when I was actually running. I don't know if that contributed to the side ache because I was probably drinking more water during that half marathon than I did regularly during running and training. So I don't know if that was an issue. But I was like, I don't know, they say to hydrate, say it's important. So
someone said, Megan, are you going to run?
And they're just holding it out for you. So I'm like, okay, I'll take one, I guess.
I still am not any more inclined to do a half marathon now than when Ciera started training. I will say, and I'm sure I talked about this at the beginning of the year, but it's like, I know I probably should do more like running type stuff purely for like my cardiovascular fitness
if
and
you
endurance.
ever want to do anything with
so
me,
I feel like it would be a good idea for me to like dip my toes into like running in general a little bit,
just like recreationally.
and then I don't know. I'm kind of like, if I were to get to a point where I could like run 3 miles, I'm like, maybe I'd sign up for a 5K.
Well,
might as
really,
well like,
honestly,
I might as well get like some credit for it.
What I do think is that, like, do I expect you to ever run a half marathon? No. But I do think, like, you would probably say, like, I could never run 3 miles right now. And, like, I guarantee you could. And it literally, like, it's a half hour. A little more than a half hour. Like, that, mentally, I was like, oh. Like, because I know your pace, I don't think would be, like, maybe, like, 12 minutes.
Here's the thing. Last time I tried running, because I don't do it often, it's like, I get a sciatic immediately. And so
maybe
I'm like,
you should come on a run with me.
I'm like, as soon as I get a sciatic, I'm like, I simply can't keep going. So I just feel like the idea is always like, okay, that actually doesn't sound that bad. But in practice, like, something happens where I'm like, oh, I'm, like, debilitated right now.
You, me, and Haley could all get together because Haley wants to start running too, I think. We could do something. Summer run club. But, like, I guarantee, like, you could definitely, like, easily with a little bit of training get to a point where you could run, like, I don't know, 36-minute, 3 miles. And, like, that's really, like, not a long time.
I know. Let's see. Did you find the training prepared you enough for the race?
Yeah. I don't think that I could have done anything to prepare me more. Like, if I ever did run a half marathon again, like, I would want to get faster. That would be, like, as I'm continuing to, like, run more, because I do want to still incorporate running in my, like, every weekly scheduled fitness stuff. I want to see if I can, like, try and get faster. I know that happens partially with just, like, the longer you run, obviously you build up your endurance and you get faster. But, like, trying to be mindful of, like, the types of workouts that I'm doing. That's the other thing I learned with, like, all these different types of runs. There's speed runs, there's the recovery runs, there's the long runs, there's the fartlek runs, like, they all have, or, like, tempo runs. Like, there's all sorts of different runs you can do to train for different things. So I'm going to try and probably still use the Nike Run Club app, like, as some of those training days.
What was your weekly mileage leading up to the half marathon?
I can check my Run Club app and let you know.
Did you change your diet at all?
No, I didn't change my diet at all. This is hard because it's like the month shows. I did like on the beginning of May, and I'm trying to figure out the last week.
How was the recovery? Did you feel like much afterwards?
I felt fine today.
Okay.
Which honestly, I felt worse after my 12.4 mile run. My knees were killing me.
There's a lot of you guys asking me when I'm going to start running.
Megan goes, shut your mouth. I can't find an exact answer. I know I had 3 recovery runs. A 15-minute, a 15-minute, a 25-minute. Those are probably around 5 miles total with all those 3. And then I had a speed run. That's probably less than 3 miles. So like 8-ish miles or less the week of the half marathon.
All right. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for letting me yap about this. I will shut up about it now and just incorporate
no more running updates.
Just incorporate it as I incorporate it into my daily life. And I'll get Megan doing some form of running here. She can update you guys on that.
And I know, like, our fitness levels, like, prior to you doing this had, like, kind of been similar, but, like, I just feel like I have worse asthma, which right now, like, my asthma has not been bothering me, like, at all. I really don't need to use, like, an inhaler ever at this point. But, like, the side aches, the shortness of breath, like, I just feel, anytime I try running, I feel so out of shape, which as someone who kind of prides himself in being, like, a generally fit person, I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I avoid it. Yeah. So.
If we could get you to a point where you could run 1 mile without stopping, even if it's slow, I feel like that would help build up your confidence.
Well, maybe. Maybe it's in the cards. All right,
you
guys.
We could totally do a 10K together. Okay.
Okay. If you guys like this episode, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you interact on all of our platforms wherever you listen.
And we'll talk to you guys next Thursday. Bye.